Opiyo Wandayi have turned to be an emblem of its own kind of barriers. Good evening, the beloved patriot of the fourth estate. My name is Oluoch Babu, precisely known as Babu Jr. And today in this nation, Kenya is a nation that has been known with the blessings from the breastfeeding beauty and immense potential. But currently what we are confirming have made us to come into a juncture whereby we are deeply and extremely disheartened and profoundly disillusioned by several things that are happening in this government. First of all, today I saw Opiyo Wandayi, the CS for Energy, was summoned before the committee in charge, whereby he was being interviewed on matters of the scandal that have been recently happened in the energy sector. And now this is a person that we have believed in several times before the death of Baba Raila Amolo Odinga as a person who can combat corruption. But nowadays Opiyo Wandayi have turned to be an emblem of his own kind of barriers. Today he was being asked in which solutions can he give to the Kenya in matter pertaining the scandal that have been embroiled in the Kenyan energy sector, whereby Kenyan shillings, 4.8 billion Kenyan shillings have already been lost. And this is a person who was before being elected or been selected to be served as the CS for Cabinet Secretary is Energy, was preaching inclusivity, was telling the people of Kenya how he can combat corruption and adhere to human dignity. But since he have already superimposed himself and adhere to the people who nowadays preach reconnaissances, Opiyo Wandayi have turned to be an emblem. And we have no any sorry before. The people of Kenya have tired. The people of Kenya are tired to be handled by this kind of pogronism, whereby the interests of personal individuals are only catered for, forgetting the people who have elected them, have mandated them with those seats in these dockets of power. I want to issue a stern admonition that should this trajectory of misconduct persist within this jurisdiction of this land, then we are veering toward a systematic collapse. Opiyo Wandayi, you have nothing to do to the people of Kenya. We are giving you a restricted ramming of warning with an intermittent nocturnal topper. We want you to resign within 24 hours. Failure to that, tomorrow we are going to march towards and apply ourselves toward the energy house. Because we have come into a situation whereby we want a Kenya that progress. And remember that the political development is a core factor determinant for economic growth. And due to this glimpse of the unfolding saga, you are sabotaging the growth of this nation. You are declining the growth of this nation. You are putting this nation into a state of anarchy. And therefore, as I will say, we will not be frightened by any hobgoblin nature and economic status of Opiyo Wandayi. As far as the trivial end and the cascade of the scenario is confirmed, Opiyo Wandayi must go within 28 hours. Because you have not told the Kenyan in a clear or in a transparent lane how the Kenyan faced the scandal whereby we have lost 4.8 Kenyan shillings billion. This is a matter we should not take it into a lime note. Opiyo Wandayi, you have failed the Kenyans very much. And we were expecting you to work in the relevant path and in all expectation that the Kenyans are expecting. But since you have turned to be a glimpse of the unfolding saga, you have turned to be a person who is brain berserkness. We don't want you in that docket. We have the people who are capable to represent the grievances of all common mwananchi. But you are there by the name of the ODM expert. There is no expertism there. What is there is total tumbocratism. And this is something that we will not continue to experience. Whatever we want is we want to procrastinate you on those dockets so that we can insert a person who is capable to represent the people of Kenya. And it is very ironical that you are a CS for Energy. But if we travel towards your own motherland jurisdiction in Luo Nyanza, the people in your own jurisdiction are still using mafuta taa so that they can get the light for them to proceed with their daily economic lives as usual. But you are there preaching the two-term tantra terms without telling the people of Kenya that these two-term tantra terms are coming where? We want the people who cater for the grievances of the common mwananchi, adhere to human dignity and the leadership that can progress this nation into the pelpadation exodus. This is something that we are not going to tolerate. This kind of fickleness, irresoluteness, and comicality, it is something that we cannot emphasize in Kenyan political and the current political affairs. It is something that we are going to procrastinate and denature for all. This kind of pogronism that you have inserted in the docket of energy, it is something that is unprecedented, it is unpresidential, and comical in Kenyan political space. The other day you stoned, the other day you play goons to come and meme the former president of the Bunge la Mwananchi, Frank Awino, simply because he opposed your rogue leadership in the docket of energy. That is not a quality of a good leadership. You have disqualified to be the leadership. You have disqualified to be the CS for energy. And we, in fact, I can even perform better than you, Opiyo Wandayi. So we want you to resign. We don't want any chaos. We don't want to involve ourselves in any kind of misunderstanding and disagreement. What we want from you is to resign from the docket of CS for energy, and we can insert someone who is capable to represent the grievances of the common Mwananchi. And I wonder how the member of parliament are continue to jeopardizing their time to ask you more questions, since they have already come in a perception and know that you are a serious goon, you are a serious thug, you are a pogrom and a marauder who maraud the public resources at the expense of enriching themselves. But they still waste them their time to ask you questions that are very incoherent. Furthermore, you are very inconsistent whether to answer those questions correctly. But whatever you are just giving on that committee was a lot of PRs and draconisms. So this kind of pogromism and irresoluteness is something that we are going to procrastinate forever. We cannot be handled by the glimpse of the unfolding saga, whose their main aim is to maraud the public resources. This is something that it is a primitive, it is traditional, it is incompetence, irresoluteness, and comicality that we are not going to tantalize. We are not going to combat this kind of leadership of yours. As I come to matters of whatever happened yesterday recently, I saw the President of the Republic of Kenya, the head honcho of the executive, was in one of the funerals in Endarasha County, was attended by the several leaders. More so, the leaders from the Mount Kenya who are leading the opposition, led by Rigathi Gachagua, the former deputy impeached, and the senator from Nyandarua, Senator Metu. And there is something that happened recently whereby the people are trying to criticize Senator Metu for telling the president in persons in a rapport that he cannot fear the president. I want to remind you, because the president and his all cabals and the shenanigans and the glimpse of the unfolding saga are trying to operate into recycling dictations. Remember, when you were the deputy president of the Republic of Kenya under the Uhuru Kenyatta leadership, you used to tell Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta things that are very incoherent, things that are very fickle, irresolute, and cantankerous. And there is nowhere you see the people or President Uhuru Kenyatta coming to tell you that you have to respect me. Because President Uhuru Kenyatta was a man who attended to the democratic right of the people of Kenya and adhered to articles of the Constitution of Kenya. Article 37, Article 34. It is something that must be prevailed by the people. But nowadays, you want to deploy on your kind of dictatorship terms of ruling in this nation. This is Kenya. And as I will say, we are tired to be handled by the pogroms, the ravenous lunatic individuals whose main aim is to maraud the public resources at the expense of enriching themselves. The moment is long overdue for these nations used to be entrusted with leadership. And this only constitutes to Kenyan political class and Kenyan political fossils, Kenyan political demagogues, pogroms, ought to articulate and ought to change. The leadership must be prevailed to the youths of this nation. And this kind of draconism, this kind of fickleness, irresoluteness being deployed by the despotic and usurpers of power surrogates, being led by the head honcho of the executive, cabal, despotic surrogates William Samoei Ruto. This is something that is totally inconsistent, phenomenal, and quite worthwhile for us to understand this kind of leadership of yours. You have to respect the fellow leaders of yours. You have to attend in Article 31, 34 of the Constitution and Article 1 of the Constitution. And Article 1 of the Constitution is which we are going to use it to unearth you in the docket of power. And I'm going to tell you, Kikuyu contribute to 34% of the voter turnout in this nation. Luyas follow with 18, and the Luo 9 and the Kalenjin 8. We only want 24 from Mountain region. We want 12 from the Western region. We want 7 from the Nyanza region. And we only want 5% from the Rift Valley region. That is 51.1, and it is a maximum threshold for us to unearth you from the docket of power, simply because you have turned to be a despotic and surrogate mafia. And as I will say, We cannot be frightened by any economic status and the hobgoblin nature of President William Ruto. As far as the trivial end and the cassette of the scenario is concerned, we are going to procrastinate you come 2027. And Tuko Kadi slogan, it is something that is palpable. We cannot be coerced by the glimpse of the unfolding saga toward omnisciousness and sentiments that is going to plunge us into the state of dingy. This is something that we are not going to cooperate, to tolerate, or tantalize. Thank you very much.